सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं कर्वावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat. Om Namah Shivaya. Good morning.
Om Tat Sat. Om Namah Shivaya. Good morning, sir.
So we'll continue with where we left off. We had finished the 7th mantra, and now we will chant the 8th mantra of the first chapter, first section. So mantra 118. Mundaka Upanishad. Tapasa chiyate brahma.
Tapasa chiyate brahma.
Tato annam bhijayate.
Tato annam bhijayate.
Annat prano manas satyam.
Annat prano manas satyam.
Loka karma suchamritam.
Loka karma sumritam.
So the Srishti is being talked about. Creation. How creation happened is being talked about. And what was there before creation? So the Chandogya Upanishad says, Sadeva Some Idam Agre Ati. The world was always there. Sat Eva. Sat Eva Agre Asi. This world was always there as Sat, as pure existence. And what was the difference between the world now and before it was there? So basically he's saying that the universe was always there. And at times it is Vyakta Avastha, manifest existence. At times it is Avyakta Avastha, unmanifest experience, existence. So this idea we have seen before also. We have seen Bhagavad Gita also. Krishna says that everybody was there in unmanifest form. They are there in manifest form now. And again, they will be in unmanifest form later. So the question might come up, if the universe was in unmanifest form earlier, then what is the need for it to become manifest? Why can't it just remain in unmanifest form? So for that, we can take the example of the jiva sleeping, right? So the jiva sleeping, if you consider as unmanifest because he is not functional, then the question arises, why should he wake up? What is the answer to that? Why does a jiva wake up every morning?
No, Ravi ji, may I try?
Please, Natarajan.
Yeah, because if I don't perform certain other function like eating, feeding myself and other thing, I will not exist anymore. The gross body will pop off.
Correct. So the gross body has got a prarabdha. And that prarabdha is what drives you to get up every morning and do your various karma, right? So if you are comparing this, then there is a Purva Pakshi. Purva Pakshi is what? Pakshi is a bird, right?
Opposing view, contrary view.
This is a person who has an
Opposing or
view,
contrary.
the opponent. So there is a Purva Pakshi who says, fine. Now, if you are saying that the jiva gets up because of prarabdha, and we can compare that to the world in unmanifest form and the world in manifest form, then isn't it true that it is Ishvara's prarabdha which makes the world become manifest? So the answer to that is no. Why is it no?
No, Ravi ji.
Yes, Natarajan ji.
By definition, Ishvara has no prarabdha.
By definition, Ishvara has no prarabdha. But this example has to be satisfied, has to be explained. And therefore, Shastra says that it is not Ishvara's prarabdha which is the cause of creation, because Ishvara has no prarabdha at all. That is the very definition, because Maya is under Ishvara's control. Then what? It is the prarabdha of the infinite number of jivas that is the cause of the conversion to from unmanifest to manifest cause. Because when this prarabdha is due to be fulfilled, then there has to be a platform for their fulfillment. And therefore the number of jivas, that massive amount of prarabdha, it's like a seed which is about to give birth. And therefore it is the infinite number of jivas which is the cause of the conversion. And Shastra often refers to this as the total creative urge of Brahmaji, right? Because it is from Brahmaji, Hiranyagarbha, that the whole world is born, food is produced. From food, the pranas are born, the mind is born, the Panchabhutani are born, the karma is born, karma phalam is born. Everything is from Brahmaji only. And just like the emergence of a tree from a seed is gradual and in a phased manner, same way, this mantra is saying the world also is emerging in a gradual, phased manner. So, tapasa chiyate Brahma. So, Brahma here is Brahmaji, that is Maya Sahitam Brahman. We also call Hiranyagarbha. We also call Samashti Prana, all different names for Brahmaji. So, tapasa chiyate. Chiyate means expands. The Brahman expands with his tapas. So then the question arises, what kind of tapas is Brahman doing? And Brahman, remember here, Brahma is not Nirugana Brahman, it is Saguna Brahman, Hiranyagarbha only. And as you know by now, tapas can have many meanings. So Shankara says tapas here has to be taken as jnanam, knowledge. And should we accept it just because Shankara says? No, we should know how this meaning is arrived, because tapas nowhere has the meaning of jnanam. Then Shankara is borrowing it from the 9th mantra, the next mantra, where tapas is defined as jnanam. Therefore, when Shankara says here that tapas means jnanam, he is borrowing the meaning from the next mantra. So he says, through this jnanam, this knowledge, what is this knowledge? Brahman is, that is Ishvara, Brahmaji. Hiranyagarbha is recollecting all the knowledge he needs for the construction of the world. What is the mind for this Saguna Brahman? Because knowledge means mind is involved. What is the mind for Saguna Brahman?
Foresee.
Anybody else?
Hello, Raviji, I can try.
Please, please.
It must be the collective minds of all the people who are in the, from subtle form went into causal form.
Right.
Universal causal form.
Absolutely. But what is it called in this terminology? Because Saguna Ishvara consists only of two parts.
Yeah, one is the Atma part, the other is the non-Atma part, the OC and Maya.
Yeah. So Maya. So here, Maya is basically what? We saw earlier also in Bhagavad Gita that when you say Maya, Maya is nothing but the material part of the universe. And the material part of the universe is nothing but the aggregation of all the individual parts. And therefore, if you are talking about the sthula part, the sthula shariram part of Maya, it is the complete universe, because it is the aggregation of all bodies, all living bodies, all non-living items also, like the rivers and the oceans and the planets are all combined together to give Maya. Similarly, if you're talking about the mind, then it is the collective minds of all the infinite jivas, as Nataji said. And therefore, the Maya vritti, the thoughts in the Maya mind, Maya is the mind for Ishvara, for Hiranyagarbha. All these thoughts together are the tapas. And Brahman now has to identify with Maya, because identification requires an upadhi, and upadhi is a Maya. Like you as Atma, when you drink tea, you have to identify with the body, right? You have to identify the mind, because the mind will tell you, okay, this is T, and then the body will pick up. All requires identification. As Atma, you can't do anything unless you identify with the bodies in the mind. The same thing, when Brahman wants to create, he has to identify with the Upadhi. That Upadhi in this case is Maya. What does Chiyate mean? So we can take the example of putting a seed in the ground to germinate. If anybody of you has actually put a seed in water, the ground, what happens is you can't see the seed. But if as an example, you have put the seed in water, the seed will still sprout. But before the sprout actually emerges from the seed, there is a slight change in the seed. What is that?
Swells.
It swells, right?
Swelling up.
The swelling up. So this is chiyate, the expansion. So the bulging of the seed is the state before the sprout is seen. And therefore, here Shankara uses an example, Ankuram eva bijam uchchunatam. That seed swells before it sprouts. So it, of course, it is very poetic. It doesn't mean Ishvara actually swells. It means Ishvara is about to create the Jagat. Chiyate is getting ready to create. Creation has not happened. And why is he getting ready to create? Because the karmas of the infinite jivas need to fructify. Now again, we have learned again and again in the Bhagavad Gita that any product to be manifested must have its earlier existence in the potential form, right? Like if you get butter from milk, then that butter has to exist in the milk in potential form. If the butter didn't exist in the milk in potential form, then we would not be able to extract it. What is the proof of that? What is the proof that any product exists in potential form in the cause? So all think about all these things right now.
The seed sprouts into a tree.
Okay. So are you saying that the mango tree is there in potential form in the seed?
Yes, that's what is.
What is the proof?
It's only there in the mango seed and not the apple seed.
Absolutely. So it is only there in the mango seed. Otherwise, from the apple seed, you should be able to get a mango tree, right? So it is existing there in the potential form. If butter did not exist in the milk in potential form, then we don't have to have milk to get butter. If you are saying that butter is not existed at all, then you can take any liquid in which butter is not existent. For water also, you should be able to extract butter. But you can't. And based on this law, the universe must exist in its karanam, in its cause, in potential form. And that's what he meant by saying, Mundaka Upanishad meant by saying, Sadeva Soumya Idamagre Asit. That Sat Eva, that existence form principle, which is the universe, that existed in Brahman before the universe was born. Universe is existing in unmanifest, in potential form, before its emergence as the manifest form of the universe. And this potential universe, we should be familiar with the names. I'm sure all of you are familiar right now. So you have Avyakrita Prapancha. Avyakritam means unmanifest. It's also called Avyakta Prapancha, unmanifest Prapancha. It's also called Karana Prapancha. It's also called Prakritihi. It's also called Shaktihi. It's also called Maya. All these are different names for the potential universe. Remember the word Maya when we use, it is usually used for the unmanifest universe. Avyakta Prapancha, before creation. After creation, what is the name for this manifested Maya?
Vyakta Prapancha.
Jagat.
Jagat.
Jagat, obviously, right? Jagat is the name for manifested Maya. Unmanifested Maya is called, unmanifested universe is called Maya. Okay. And therefore, remember that the term Brahman and the term Ishvara are very often used synonymously. And this Maya is often referred to as Ishvara's mind. Why do you say so? You can explain it with the example of our own mind. The dream which is going to come to you in tonight's sleep, let us say you're going to have a dream. Of course, you don't know what it is, but you're going to have a dream. Where does that dream exist in potential form?
Chitta in the Antakaran. It's in the Chitta in the form of memory.
So basically, you are saying in your mind, right?
Mind.
It's
We're not going into those technicalities. We are saying in your mind, the universe which your mind will project in tonight's dream, that universe is existing already in your mind, right? As various vasanas, potential form basically. So your thinking is called manovrittihi. Ishvara's thinking are called maya vrittihi. And therefore, just as the universe which emerges from you is in your mind in potential form, the universe which emerges from Ishvara is in his mind in potential form. And Ishvara's mind is called Maya. So, hence we say Avyakta Maya is nothing but the potential form of the Vyakta Jagat. Now, let's look at this evolution of the Karana Prapancha into the Sthula Prapancha. Right? So, there are two stages. Karana Prapancha, what is the Tattvabodha name for it?
Hello, Raviji. I think it's Antaryami.
Antarayami.
Sorry?
Antaryami.
Antaryami. Karana Prapancha is Antaryami.
Antaryami.
Antaryami is in English, it is what is it called?
Causal form of the universe.
Causal form of the universe. I'm repeating again and again, not because I think you guys don't know, because I need to remind myself. Okay, so causal form of the universe. And that's Karana Prapancha. That Karana Prapancha, that Antaryami, from Antaryami, what emerges? Samashti Sukshma Shariram emerges, which is otherwise called what?
Hiranyagarbha.
Hiranyaka.
What is the other name for Karana Prapancha?
Subtle universe.
Karana Prapancha.
No.
Oh, sorry, causal universe.
No, what is the other name? If Hiranyagarbha is Sukshma Prapancha, what is Karana Prapancha?
Samashti Karan.
Remember here,
Antaryami.
there is a technical name. Karana Prapancha is also called Ishvara. Okay, when you say Ishvara, Hiranyagarbha, Virat, we have done this in Tattvabodha, you have forgotten. Karana Prapancha has not only Antaryami, it's also called Ishvara. So from Ishvara, from Antaryami, Hiranyagarbha emerges. So from Ishvara, Hiranyagarbha emerges. From Antaryami, Hiranyagarbha emerges. Okay, this is the first step. Then there is a conversion or the emergence of the Sthula Prapancha from Sukshma Prapancha. The gross universe from the subtle universe. And that gross universe is called what?
Virat.
Virat. So we have one stage, Ishvara, Hiranyagarbha, Virat. Okay, that is the sequence. Now, here we can look at the further division of the stages. For example, the Karana Avastha movement into Sukshma Avastha, we can divide into two, right? And the other movement also we can divide into two. So we can have a Karana Avastha number 1 and a Karana Avastha number 2. Okay. Karana Avastha number 1 can be called Avyakritam and Karana Avastha number 2 can be called Annam. Okay, I'll just explain. So, in the example of this, okay, let's go to Sukshma Prapancha also. Sukshma Prapancha number 1, the Samashti Sukshma Prapancha first is predominantly prana. So first samashti prana has to come into existence, and that is we can call that Hiranyagarbha number 1. So we are dividing Hiranyagarbha into 2. So Hiranyagarbha, the first stage is called pranaha, and from samashti pranaha, samashti manaha has to come. So that's where samashti manaha is emerging. We can call it Hiranyagarbha number 2. So from Sukshma Prapancha, also we are dividing into 2. We are saying one is Samashti Prana and one is Samashti Manaha. And Sthula Prapancha also you can divide into 2, and that should be fairly easy. First is the Pancha Sthula Bhutani, which are formed through Panchikaranam. That is Sthula Prapancha number 1 or Virat number 1. And what should be Virat number 2? From Pancha Sthula Bhutani, what emerges? All Tattvabodha only.
Hello, Raviji, can I try the individual bodies and other forms?
Correct. So we heard the name Bhautikams also, right, in Tattvabodha. So the first part of the Sthula Prapancha is the Pancha Mahabhutani. When the Pancha Mahabhutani combine through Panchikaranam, what happens? You have Bhautika Prapancha, the elementals, the lokas, etc. Okay. So in this, so of 6 have come. 6 have come from this particular setup. And from these 6, once these 6 come, then you will have karma, you will have punya papam, you will have punya papam phalam, all this. Okay, so karma phalam is called amritam in this mantra. And here, of course, amritam is relatively eternal. It will continue to exist until phalam has been experienced. That is why it is said to be amritam. So these are the 6 stages. Now, when you look at the first 2 stages, Karanavastha number 1, Karanavastha number 2, we can compare it to the seed. That is why I gave the example of the seed. The bulging of the seed is Karana Avastha number 1. It is getting ready to bulge, to create. It is not created at all. And Karana Avastha number 2, when the sprout actually emerges from the bulging seed, that is Karana Avastha number 2. Okay, these are two little words which we are using. And as I said, Karanavastha number 1 is called Avyakritam, Avyaktam, unmanifest. Because it is only that the seed is bulging, but the sprout is still unmanifest. In Karanavastha number 2 is called Annam. Okay, just before evolution begins. In this particular mantra, it is called Annam. So there is a difference. One is the Avyakritam part, one is the activated Karana Prapancha part. These two things you should understand. Similarly, Sukshma Prapancha, you have the stage where prana is predominant. That is called Hiranyagarbha stage number 1, also called prana in the mantra. And the second stage where Samashti Manaha has emerged. And that is called Manaha in the mantra. Now this Sthula Prapancha number 1, where the Pancha Sthula Bhutani have been formed through Panchikaranam, is called Satyam in this mantra. Why Satyam? It comes from Brihadaranyaka mantra, so we'll not get into all that. So it's called Satyam. The Pancha Sthula Bhutani is called Satyam, and the lokas being formed, the Bhautika Prapancha from the Pancha Sthula Bhutani, that is called Loka. So there are different names. And as I said, Karma Phalam is called Amritam because, why is it called Amritam? Because until our karma phalam has been experienced, it does not go away. So it is relatively eternal. In the sense it cannot be destroyed excepting by being experienced. Okay. Any questions so far? When we actually explain the mantra, all the background will be clear. All right. Now, any creation, or rather any karma itself, is preceded by 3 stages. What are they? Before you do any action, there have to be 3 things which happen.
Intent,
You have to know about it.
I want the Sanskrit words.
Vritti, Ichcha, Jnana,
Very good.
Ichha, Ichha and Kriya.
What is the sequence?
Ichha Shakti, Jnana
Jnana, Ichha and Kriya.
Shakti, Ichha Shakti, Jnana Shakti, and Kriya Shakti.
Ichha Shakti, Jnana Shakti, and Kriya Shakti. Okay. Therefore, to visualize this universe, Ishvara first needs the Ichha. The Ichha will, of course, happen because the prarabdha of all the jivas have to be fructified, and then he has to have the jnanam, the blueprint, and therefore the visualization of the whole universe has to be completed, has to be put in place before creation can begin. So before you can create anything, there should be a mental visualization, and that visualization be in our normal language. Blueprint should be there before you can actually begin a house. The plan should be there, right? If you want to construct a house, you should have the architect having drawn up the plan first. And this is what the mantra says. So it says, Annat Pranaha Manaha. So you have to break it up. Annat Pranaha and Pranat Manaha. Those two things you have to add over there. So prana here is the samashti sukshma shariram, right? Samashti prana it is. It's called we thought of it as Hiranyagarbha number 1. So the total Jnana Shakti and Kriya Shakti and Manaha is also part of Hiranyagarbha. Hiranyagarbha number 1 and Hiranyagarbha number 2. And we can analyze that in 2 parts. From that Annam. So Annat Pranaha is born. From Annam, Prana is born. Which means from Annam, Hiranyagarbha number 1, Samashti Prana is born. And Pranat, from Hiranyagarbha number 2, Manaha is born. This is called Samashti Manaha. This is what I said about Hiranyagarbha number 1 and 2. That process is divided into 2. First, the emergence of Samashti Prana, and then the emergence of Samashti Manaha. And what is Manaha in terms of Tattva? What is the definition?
Sankalpa Vikalpa.
Vikalpatmaka
Right.
manaha.
And what is the other part? Buddhi.
Buddhi,
Nishchayatmaka.
Nishchayatmika buddhi.
Right. So that is the description in Tattva. But here, the division into Manaha and Buddhi is not there. So Shankara defines as Sankalpa, Vikalpa, Samshaya, Nirnaya, Adi, Atmaka. It covers the whole thing. Sankalpa, Vikalpa, Samshaya, that covers the Manaha part of it. Nirnaya covers the Buddhi part of it, right? So from that Manaha, from Hiranyagarbha number 2, what should come out? From Sukshma Shariram, what should come out? Virat should come out. Therefore, it says Satyam Lokaha. Okay. Now, this Satyam Lokaha, these words are borrowed from Brihadaranyaka, and we'll see why when we come to that Upanishad. But here, Satyam means Murta, Amurta, Panchabhutani. What is Murta, Amurta, Panchabhutani?
With form, without form.
With form, without
Murta,
form.
amurta.
And in Tattva terms, how would you classify Murta? What term in Tattva is Murta and what term is Amurta?
Panchakritta
Bhutani is
Murta
Sorry,
and
come again.
Panchakrit Bhutani,
Yes.
Murta, and Tanmatra would be the Amurta.
Apanchikritam.
Well, we are talking about the Sthula Prapancha.
Hello, Raviji, can I try?
Yes, Dattaji.
Panchabhutani.
One is the element and the elemental, the both.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Very good. Yeah. Remember, we're talking about the Sthula Prapancha. So when you say Amurta, it is the Panchabhutani, which is the cause for the Bhautikani. The elements are the cause for the elementals. And therefore, Satyam here means Murta, Amurta Bhutani, which means Panchamahabhutani and Bhautikani. And which means what? Samashti, Sthula Sharira. The Panchaputani are also there. And what is formed out of the Panchabhutani is also there. So that is Satyam. Okay. So all this you will see in Brihadaranyaka, but this is the brief meaning. And so Satyam Lokaha. Lokaha means all the 14 worlds, right? And we say all these 14 worlds, life is possible. So this is Virat, the physical universe. And therefore Shankara explains in great detail. He says Tasmat. Tasmat means from that gross, sthula Panchamahabhutani, Murta, Amurta Bhutani, which is called Satyam. Right? Murta, Amurta Bhutani, we said is called Satyam, which is Sthula Panchabhutani and Sthula Bhautikani also. So Tasmat, from that. What happens? Anda Kramena. So Kramena means sequentially, and Anda means Brahmandam. So Brahmandam is the cosmic stage, the cosmic egg, we call it. What is that cosmic egg? The body of Virat. So Virat is called Brahmandam. So first, this Virat is Sthula Panchamahabhutani. And then from them, Sapta Lokaha Bhura Adayaha, which means the 7 lokas, beginning with Bhuloka Adi. Bhura Adaya, Bhuloka Adi. Abhijayante, you can say, is born. So the 2 stages are there. One is the Panchabhutani stage, one is the Pancha Bhautikani stage. So that's what Shankara says, Anda Kramena. And the Kramena is very important. He is saying it is done born sequentially, not in at one go. Why not? We'll see. And then he says, in those lokas, further, in those lokas, what is born? Manushyadi, Pranis, etc. Manushyas, everything is born. We can see here that there is a straight birth from the moment the world is born, he says Manushyas are born, which is contradicting the evolution theory, of course, but we can just ignore that. He just said that he didn't talk about the animals and all the evolutionary cycle because it's not relevant for us, since the other pranis don't have the capacity to get jnanam, and therefore he comes straight to Manushya Adi Pranihi. And karmasu in the mantra is to be translated as from the karmas done by the jivas, because there cannot be any karma unless jiva is there. So from the karmas done by the jivas. And he says cha amritam. So here amritam, as I said earlier, is karma phalam. So what all are born? The anda is born. That is the Thula Panchabhutani are born. The Bhautikani are born. That is 7 lokas are born. In those lokas, Manushyadi, human beings, etc. are born. From human beings, what is born? Karma is born. From karma, karma phalam is born. Punyam and papam is born. As you can see, all the terms are being used in a peculiar meaning. None of the terms are having the standardized dictionary meaning. So why is karma phalam called amritam? Karma phalam can be exhausted only in 2 ways. What is that?
Drishta, drishta.
Not that. That's not the meaning. Can be exhausted only in 2 ways. How do you exhaust karma phalam? Remember all that you have learned.
Experiencing pleasure and pain.
Yes, that's one.
And jnanam.
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 Second one is, when you say jnanam, what does it mean?
Atma-jnana.
Aham Brahmasmi
It
realization.
means what? Why does it exhaust the karma?
Because it destroys the sanchit karma.
Yeah.
also.
And there is
Because?
no agami abhasa. Karma abhasa.
So the second is moksha.
Yeah, but what does it mean?
Yeah.
How do I say that karma is exhausted when I get Atma Jnanam?
Because you intellectually now understand that you are not the Deha.
Right. So karma phala can be exhausted only in 2 ways. One is by experiencing the karma phalam, that is getting the pains and pleasures. Other is by Atma Jnanam, in the knowledge that I am akarta and the karma was never really mine. Okay. So these are only 2 ways, and unless one of these happens, That karma phalam will keep on standing in my account, and I will have to keep on taking birth. And therefore, it is relatively eternal. This is clear from the context, right? And therefore, the normal meaning of, Amritam is what? Moksha or Ananta, unlimited by time. That cannot be applied over here. That we must remember. And just like a small little side note, in this particular mantras where Mundaka talks about creation, it doesn't really talk about Panchabhutani and how they emerge and all that. Individual Panchabhutanis, it doesn't talk. For that, we look at other texts like Tattvaboda does in great detail. In Taittiriya Upanishad, you will find Akasha Sambhutaha, Panchabhutani is the Akasha, first one, so on and so forth. In Chandogya, you will find that there is a definition with Agni, Jalam, and Prithvi being presented. So, different texts, and in fact, different Upanishads themselves, they present the Srishti Prakriya, the order of creation, in different manners. Like there's a total inconsistency. Among them, if you look at different Upanishads and what they say, you'll find there is no consistency. Some say 5 elements, some say 3 elements, some don't say at all. So why is the inconsistency there? How do you explain the inconsistency of the Upanishad? Because a lot of people who criticize the Upanishads say that there is no consistency at all in the Upanishads. How can you take it as the truth? So what is the inconsistency as far as creation is concerned? How do we explain?
Raviji, may I try?
Please, Natarajji.
Because it depends on the level of the seeker. He progresses from various stages. His mind develops. So
Yeah.
depending on the stage of development, inputs are given according to that.
Okay, that's one good reason. Any other reason?
This theory of creation is not the Tatparyam of the Upanishads.
Very good.
So there can be various presentations, it doesn't matter.
Absolutely. So the Tatparyam, that's a very important point. The Tatparyam of Shastram is what? Sarvam Brahma. Nothing is separate from Brahman. And therefore, Srishti, Jagat is Mithya. And what has been created is Mithya, while the Karanam is Satyam. And remember that if Mithya is missed, the Srishti Prakaranam has no meaning. But what is important, there some details are to be given. But still, Mithya is really speaking Mithya only. The Srishti Prakaranam is completely Mithya, and the details are not really important. Whatever the details are, the Tatparyam is Sarvam Brahman. Everything is Brahman. What is not Brahman is Mithya. And as you saw in Bhagavad Gita, the 18th verse, 24th verse of the 4th chapter, whatever you see, even if you're looking at Mithya, ultimately you must see that Mithya as name and form of Brahman only. So Tatparyam is only Brahman, and therefore you will find that Upanishads don't pay too much attention to what is Mithya. So different Upanishads will have different ideas about how Srishti is formed. Okay. Now, Shankara introduces the next mantra by saying that it is meant, this is a very important introduction, Bhashyam, in the Bhashyam. He says the next mantra is meant to show that there is no simultaneous emergence of the universe. And that we have to understand from that mantra that there is a gradual emergence. All the aspects of the universe do not simultaneously emerge. And for us to understand that statement, Shankara doesn't say. We have to figure out why is it that he makes the statement? Why is it necessary for him to tell us that the emergence is gradual? Why can we not take it as, why would we take it rather? Not why can we not take it? Why would we not take it as emergence is gradual? If he is telling you that emergence is gradual, he is telling you that otherwise, if I don't tell you, you might take it as simultaneous emergence, Yugapat. simultaneous emergence, you might take it. And that is why he is telling you. He says, Vishwam anena kramena utpadyate. Anena kramena, in a particular order, it is born. Not yugapat, not simultaneously. Why is it necessary for him to make that statement? Why does he assume that if he doesn't make the statement, we will accept? There is a very good possibility that we will accept that the prapancha is emerging instantaneously. What is the reason? It's very obvious reason. The mind has to learn to think in those directions.
Ravi sir, can I try?
Yes, Kush.
If I'm not mistaken, we discussed this earlier, wherein you said when a dreamer is dreaming, the dream is shown at one time, not in parts, and it's
Excellent.
similar like Ishvara's dream.
So if normally everybody uses the analogy of the dream for the universe, emergence of the dream universe is compared to emergence of our Jagat also. In the dream, there is no simultaneous, there is no sequential emergence. A dream, everything, the whole universe comes in one flash, emerges simultaneously. And therefore, Shankara is saying that the Jiva Swapna Prapancha, which emerges simultaneously, cannot be an analogy for Srishti Prapancha. Okay? Therefore, it says, Vishwam Anena Kramena Utpadyate, not Nas Yugapada, not together. And Shankara uses the analogy. He says, when you drop a handful of grapes, for example, how do they fall to the ground? They fall in a sequence. May not be ordered sequence, but that is not the idea here. They don't fall simultaneously. They fall in a sequence, and therefore there is a krama, an order, a sequence. And he says the next mantra is meant to reveal that krama, reveal that rule, that sequence. Okay, so with this, we'll stop for today. Any questions?
Om Ravi ji.
Yeah.
I didn't follow why we use the word Amritam.
Karma phalam. Okay, I would rather
Okay, so
one of you people explain what we explain. Anybody from you would like to explain why karma phalam is called Amritam?
Moksha.
No. I gave a long explanation. I want you, if you have listened to that, you should be able to extract what I said. Anybody?
May I try, Acharya?
Yes, Indra, believe.
Because we have to consume. Kamrutam is what we consume. Prarabdham has to be exhausted. It has to be exhausted. And so it's eternal.
That was one aspect of it. Second aspect?
Okay.
Anybody? We discussed two parts, two reasons why it is called Amritam. Two ways of exhaustion of karma.
yeah, the
Second
second one we said to know I'm akarta, to understand that I'm akarta.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, that was the second part.
So then why is it called Amritam? You have to, yes, Peda, go ahead.
Is it
Yeah, if somebody else wants to, it's okay.
Kush, you said something?
because it says that it makes us realize that I'm a karta, and only when I realize I'm a karta, it makes me infinite.
Okay.
Like the jnanam assimilation, the fact that aham brahmasmi assimilation is only when I know that I'm a karta,
Okay.
and I exhaust the prarabdha karma.
Okay. But what is the answer to the question?
The answer is that's why it's called Amritam, because Amritam was eventually known for giving you like life forever.
No.
Hello, Ravi,
No.
may
Nataji,
she can.
Nataji, go ahead.
See, because Amritam is really the end purpose for which you are doing anything.
Okay.
Normally, the whole reason the ocean got churned was they wanted to get something out of the whole activity. The purpose of all that was to get Amritam. Now here the purpose of our life is to get moksha. And how does that come? By realizing those two methods. One is You exhaust it through experience. Other is to realize that I was never the doer of all those.
Okay.
Purpose gets resolved only by, the calling it Amritam is only to tell you the purpose for which it was being done. That is the end result.
Okay. Meda, yes. Oh.
Okay, Raviji, the answer is because Amritam refers to relative permanence. Usually, Amritam refers to eternal or immortal, but here it's a relative permanence with reference to karma phalam, because karma phalam is relatively permanent because there's only two ways to exhaust it, either by experiencing or by moksha. Otherwise, it keeps on persisting, and that is why it is relatively permanent, we can say.
Okay, so that's the correct answer. That Amritam is apekshika Amritam here, which means relatively permanent because it stays in your karma account unless it has been exhausted or unless you have got moksha. Until then, it is there. It doesn't go away. That is the reason why it is kalam. Anitaji, is that clear?
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you, Raviji. Thank you, Medaji also. Yeah.
So with this, we'll stop for today because we won't be able to complete the next. Yes, Meda.
So, in the order of creation, first prana came, then manaha.
Manaha came.
But usually, I mean, isn't it other way in some other presentations?
Yes, it is. The order is never. That's why I said that you will find different orders, different elements. For Chandogya, for example, it's got only 3 elements. It doesn't have 5 elements. So that is why since the Tatparyam is not creation, we safely say that okay, all these are just to illustrate that Anatma is there, and that you have to understand Anatma to understand Atma. Beyond that, we don't go into the inconsistencies at all.
All right.
Okay, so with this we'll stop. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat. Om Namah Shivaya. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you, Acharya. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Om Om.